what's gone on within fieldwork, how it's changed, and how we've now got this kind of broadened field of practice, and that we're getting more collaboration. You know, enhancing fieldwork learning is really good at doing that, but more collaboration. We've now got this broadened field of practice, but what we're trying to really think about now is how can we use all of these different delivery modes together and make more informed choices about the fieldwork that we provide students. And we can see some of the broadened field of practice evident in what's happened in the literature, but also what we all do as practitioners as well. So some of the images there on the right, there are some of the things that I've worked on since the pandemic. And I think it just shows the vast array of what is digital fieldwork. And so now we're at this stage of having so much digital fieldwork practice, as well as all of our in-field fieldwork practice, trying to make those informed choices. So Newcastle has gone back to some in-person field trips, and they've been great. But some of these were also run in a hybrid manner as well. So the field trip where these tweets are from ran in person at Kielder in Northumberland, but also there was an online field course running at the same time as well. And so there's been a real welcome return, but I think we still have to consider that there are really positive benefits for digital fieldwork, and how can we incorporate those into a more hybrid model of fieldwork moving forward. And I think this has become evident when we think about analysing the characteristics of digital fieldwork. So this was some work that I did looking at the literature and how the literature presents digital fieldwork and some of those characteristics. And some of these are really positives that are coming out. So things like enhancement, things like access and equity. These are some of the themes that have come across just this morning. And we've talked already, but this is evident within the literature as well. Those are good things that need to be in our in-person as well. And it's not just the literature, there are also students, expert panels and practitioners are recognising some of these benefits, but also some of the challenges of in-field work as well. And I think this little quote from a student in one of my focus groups, you know, they were talking about fieldwork being a lot to take in, a lot to reflect upon, and that it was really high stakes. So it was some of these kind of discussions initially that really helped me think about, okay, well, how do we bring this all together for this more hybrid fieldwork approach? So I've worked in education development for quite some time, and then when I came across this image, it kind of summarised my experience of education development. And so what I really wanted to do a bit more was do some more of that user-centred design to try and better connect me with who was going to be using the fieldwork approaches. So in that case, that would be my practitioners of fieldwork, some academics, but also the students themselves. And I'm going to focus mainly on how I try to engage with the students. So yes, I did kind of reviews of literature, I talked to people, expert panel, practitioner surveys, but I had really high hopes for a student survey, and I sent it out and I was so excited, and I was looking at my online survey responses and they were so low, and I was first hurdle in the PhD and I was like, great, no students want to do my survey. And then I kind of reflected on the number of students that I had got, surveys that I had got as a student. And I kind of did take some screen grabs of some of them. And I was like, well, it's no wonder my survey has just not been answered, because I didn't answer any of these either. So I was looking for a different way. So I decided to do a focus group. But I wanted a methodology that would enable me to spend quality time with students, to discuss fieldwork and digital fieldwork, but also for them to feel a sense of ownership and a sense of purpose with what they were doing. So I came across a nominal focus group technique, and I adapted it slightly. And what this meant was that I had time for students to have individual reflection on what mattered to them with digital fieldwork. They then all had the opportunity to share that individually. We then had some open discussion on challenges of fieldwork. and challenges of digital fieldwork, but also opportunities of both of those approaches. And then they also then shared again, so they had a second opportunity to share those priorities when it came to defining characteristics. And then what stage we go through is an open discussion within the focus group where students create a record of what's been discussed within those suggestions that they've all been sharing. And they then were asked to vote on their top priorities. So each participant of the student focus group had to vote on their top priorities for digital fieldwork characteristics. So my hope with this was that they would leave with a real visual representation of what mattered to them, but also what mattered to the group, because we were able to look at scoring systems within that focus group. And then I would leave with some priorities that would channel my development when it came to digital. So hopefully you can see this, but these were some of the priorities, the top 5 priorities that emerged from the focus groups. And then I was able to look at some themes across these as well. And so we can see some of these themes were to do with immersion, practical elements, preparation, access and equity, digital skills, technical consideration, and this mode of synchronicity as well. We're able to look at the priorities related to each of those as well, based on their coding, as if they've given them their first priority, second priority. So we can see what came up as the highest priorities as well. So students actually found digital skills was one of the biggest priority defining characteristic when it came to digital fieldwork, but that lots of those other skills are still valid and important as well. So the immersion, access and equity and so forth. Now, the focus group actually turned out a useful methodology because we had really nice open discussion within it. So I have some really nice rich data that backs up some of those defining characteristics. So yes, digital skills was a key priority, but I had the detail from that open discussion which kind of backed it up as well. So here students were talking about the opportunity to use GIS in particular and to also do some temporal modelling that was really important to them. When it came to immersion, students wanted to feel like they were there, but also that they wanted to have more than just videos and photos. They wanted to be able to collect data or create their own data digitally. When it came to access and equity, one student was able to share a really personal account of the options that they had when they developed a chronic illness during their 3rd year and how that influenced their fieldwork moving forward as well, and that they recognised that digital fieldwork provided a different equitable experience, be that for cost, health reasons or so forth. Also, students recognised that preparation was a really important characteristic of digital fieldwork and that it could prepare students for in-person fieldwork as well. And they wanted to use that to then help them moving forward as well. And it was that preparation and I'm just going to skip forward to show what we did, helped us when it came to the design phase. So we came up with 4 approaches, but it's the preparation one that I'm just going to quickly introduce before I finish. And this was designed ultimately to address fieldwork novelty, so the novelty of the fieldwork environment, and better support learners with these digital preparation resources. And the students supported us by sharing things that they wanted included within those, so introduction of sites, introduction of methodology, but also that kind of what happens on fieldwork, so lots of those logistics elements as well. So these are the resources that we've created and then we've tested them with students. So they've gone through a process evaluation with students, which has then informed subsequent development as well. So there's a series of 8 story maps that students can work through. And based on student voice in the process evaluation, we've incorporated a lot more opportunities for them to engage with each other, but also with their facilitators of fieldwork and other real fieldwork as well. So it's been nice to make those contributions change. Thank you very much, Janine. If you have questions, and Trevor will be those.
Hello, just checking everyone can hear me okay? Great. Well, at least people online can. Presumably people in the room can as well. I hope so. Okay, I'll get going. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Wakefield. I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Bristol. I work in the School of Biological Sciences, where I teach ecology and conservation mainly. I have a role with looking after kind of technology enhance. Oh, no sound. Okay, that's interesting. Is someone trying to fix that? Everyone online can hear me. I can see Trevor. Thanks, Betty. I'll just hold fire and keep talking and filling the void until it sounds like the audio is coming through. Thanks, Simon. Trevor, any sound yet? Yes, you've got sound. Great. Well done, Trevor. Okay, don't worry, I wasn't saying anything important, so I'll start again. Good morning, everyone. I'm Andy Wakefield. I'm a senior lecturer within the School of Biological Sciences at the University of Bristol. I mainly teach ecology and conservation within the school, but I also have a role looking after technology enhanced learning. But the thing I'm really passionate about is kind of pushing forward with sustainability within our school and across the university as well. And it's been really amazing to hear what other people have been getting up to. And I'm definitely keen to talk to a few other people after the conference. Today, I want to talk to you about kind of one aspect of sustainability that I've been involved with, which is probably a bit different from things you'll hear at the conference. I wasn't sure whether to propose it, but I was glad it got accepted. I want to talk to you about a case study detailing how we established a staff and student co-created community garden or allotment within the heart of our campus, and hopefully sow a seed of inspiration for some of you. You are allowed to groan at my puns, by the way. So this is kind of stretching that definition of field work that Helen alluded to in her excellent introduction. So the motivation, the inspiration for setting up this allotment was driven by some very proactive students who ran an SU group called Roots Community Gardening. And as their name suggests, they involved themselves in various horticultural projects all over the city, often establishing gardens in otherwise concreted areas of Bristol. And they even set up soup kitchens and using some of their own produce to help those in need around the city. And one autumn they set up this stand within the atrium of our life sciences building with these excellent pumpkins and squashes, and it was so impressive. It drew quite a big crowd, including myself. And I got talking to these guys. You can see the kind of founding students on the left over there. And it turned out that a lot of their growing to date had been based at a university, or the university-owned farm on the outskirts of town. So it was a bit of a trek for them to get there. And as a result, it meant that, it was kind of only a few of them that were really dedicated that went out and got involved. And they were really looking for somewhere closer to the life sciences building where they could establish as a base. So we got starting with investigations on where we could find some university-owned space. And in the end, we found a bit of derelict land in between a couple of other university buildings. What they'd struggled with was being able to convince people sort of higher up the chain to get the university and the powers to be to actually kind of give them the go-ahead to make use of this land. So that's kind of where I came in. A lot of this was driven by students. I just gave them a helping hand. But we kind of convinced the relevant authorities at the uni that a co-created allotment space would bring various benefits, and I'll go through those a bit later in the presentation. And we kickstarted this with some faculty education money from an innovation fund that we have within our faculty, and that was just to get some materials and things going for the site. And but we really helped to keep costs down for the site by creating decent partnerships with other departments within the university, such as the external estates team and the sustainability teams as well. And that really helped with thinking about our sort of ethos of recycling and upcycling and circular economy where possible. It meant that we could kind of recycle various things from across the university, like bark chippings and compost from estates, and pallet crates and cable reels and water butts. And this summer we even got a water fountain, I think from economics or somewhere. So there's definitely a kind of a decent recycle, upcycle ethos. Once the place was set up and running and producing food, that produce was then harvested and brought back into Life Sciences building, where people could help themselves in return for a donation, and that money then gets returned to the kitty, where we can use it to buy seeds and compost and things for future. But actually we've now established something more sustainable in terms of a seed amnesty each spring, where we ask colleagues, our green-fingered colleagues from all across the campus, to donate their kind of leftover seeds or seedlings that they're not going to use in their own gardens, which helps to lower our outgoings, but also reduces their waste as well. Here's a few pictures of the site. So in the top left, you can see the kind of where the site is. Just out of shot in that top left image is where the Life Sciences building is. So it's really only a short walk to this site. And these plans were drawn up by the students. That area in orange that you might be able to see on the map is actually a wildflower meadow that we put in, which links back to some of the research that happens within the School of Biological Sciences to do with plants and pollinators. The bottom two pictures show the kind of transformation of the site into what it became in the top right picture, and that involved 40 volunteers from all across the university, both staff and students, gaining new skills, getting outside, being active, and helping to create something pretty amazing in just a couple of months. And you might be able to see some of the cable reels in that top right picture that we upcycled into a very posh seating and dining area on site. Now, it hasn't all been plain sailing. Something known as a pandemic, which you may have heard of, meant that actually upkeep of the site was quite tricky for a couple of years, because people were having to work from home and not being able to come on site and maintain it. And that means that the site has become a lot less neat and tidy than what you can see in that picture there. But as an ecologist, I'd argue that's probably a good thing, and we'll probably keep it that way. Right from the very start, from talking to those students from Roots Community Gardening, we were really keen to have them really driving the project and looking after parts of the site. But one challenge that we have is that whilst we might have really dedicated students there throughout the term time, in the summer, most of them disappear. So that's something we have an ongoing challenge with. As we do with the continuity of students year to year, those first students were truly quite amazing in their enthusiasm and passion. And the following year, we had students that just weren't quite as passionate. So there's always a bit of up and down in terms of student engagement for this project. Another challenge comes from expansion of university infrastructure, which comes with its own sustainability debates, but I'm not going to grumble about that here. What I'd like to do is talk about the benefits of this kind of project. So how did we kind of sell this to the powers that be within the university, given that real estate is a premium? Well, we believe that there's some real benefits in terms of community building and well-being, both in terms of mental and physical health. But this space, and this is kind of where it feeds into discussions that we've been having this morning, this is an extension of our teaching space now. I use this as a space for our first year field ecology practical with 250 students, and it's literally right on our doorstep, and it's super local. But we also have to think of, for some of our students, given that we've got a growing number of international students, this could be an exotic field location for those students that don't know really much about the ecology of the southwest of the UK. And I think, given also that we could go abroad and do plant ID work, there's really no point when many of our students actually can't distinguish between a stinging nettle and a dead nettle. So there's actually quite a powerful argument for educating them about their local ecology on campus. And I'm sure the same argument could be made about work on campus for geographers or other environmental science degree programs. This space is also used by final year project. Thanks, Julia. This final year project students comparing bird behavior. I know colleagues go out and use it for tutorials and sit out there with their tutees when the weather is nice. And of course, students can build skills and obviously grow local produce here too. And of course, these entities don't exist in isolation, but you can join arrows between all these different things as well. We've had some really good successes, kind of surprise successes from the project. It was put forward as an example for the universities going for Gold Food Champion portfolio, which is part of the Bristol Food Network. We've got a whole new group of interested students as part of the Bristol University Conservation Group who are getting their hands dirty on site. And you can see some of them here. They've been building insect hotels and hedgehog homes, which themselves were then part of the application for the Hedgehog Friendly Campus Award this year, which the university got a gold award for. We've got beehives on site as well this year, which is related to postgraduate research within the department. And we've also had extra funding for student projects for people working on science communication projects. So students can actually get paid to do some science communication projects over the summer, which then hopefully will look brilliant on their CVs, but will also provide us with some good signage and interpretation on site. The very last thing I want to do, I have noticed I've probably only got about 30 seconds left, but I wanted to get your input because I think there's lots of benefits associated with doing a co-created garden like this. And I wanted to just do a little quick Mentimeter poll with you. So hopefully I've just shared my screen, and it'd be really great if you guys could, if you're not familiar with Mentimeter, all you need to do is a way for you to vote on a question. I'd like you to go to menti.com and use this code. I will copy the link and put that in the chat now so that anyone online can just follow the link. But if you could use your phone or your laptop if you're in the room and go to menti.com and type in this code, you'll then have the option of leaving a little dot, basically your vote on which of the SDGs, so these are the United Nations, the Sustainable Development Goals, which of these do you think is most associated with student staff allotment gardens? You can vote multiple times, but we've only got a few seconds left, so I suggest you just pick your favorite. Hopefully everyone in the room can kind of see what all of these are. I'm sure you're all familiar with the UN SDGs, but if you're like me, you've probably forgotten what the names of all of them are. I can see it's working. There's lots of great votes coming in, lots of ticks for good health and well-being. Zero Hunger's got a vote. Responsible consumption and production, number 12. I'm glad someone's ticked that because that's something that I think is really important. Life on land, absolutely, that ties in with our practical work that we do, and for third years and for our first year field trips. Sustainable cities and communities, absolutely, that was reflected in the kind of awards that this was put forward for. I think I've probably outdone my time now, so I'm happy to let someone else take control of the slides. I'll just leave that up until they do. I can see 33 people have voted, so that's really great that you've done that. I'll share that with my colleagues who've been involved with the project, and they'll be really happy to see that. Cool, thank you very much. I'm really happy to answer questions.